So now the first thing that we need to do from an account standpoint is we need to create account groups. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so we can see this a little better. You can see our accounts are here on the left. They have not been assigned to a group, so we are actually not able to copy trade yet. If I click this, nothing happens. So we need to create a group. So I'm going to hit this little plus sign. We're going to create a name for the group. I'm just going to call that PST. And we need to select which account is going to be our leader account. In other words, which account are we copying off of? Which account are we actively trading? Of course, if you pick the wrong one and you pick 2 and you're trading on account 1, obviously that's not going to copy anything. So we'll use account 1. We're going to create the group. And now you can see that this leader account is in the group. However, the rest of the accounts are not. So we need to add those over. We just simply click the account, move them over, and we are good to go. Now, next thing we need to do is we need to activate the group. So we can do that. Now, I like to hit save as I go just to make sure everything's saved and updated as we go. Okay, now that the accounts are set up, we need to go over the next setting, which is which instruments are we going to trade. So we have accounts, we have instruments, and then we have copy methods. So next we're going to create an instrument template. This will allow us to choose which instruments we want to trade. And I'm just going to call this futures group. There we go, and we'll just put futures instruments. And if you're trading separate groups for, say, micros versus minis and full size, you could call it a micro group or however you want to do that. But here you can see we've got all of our different futures instruments that we can trade. So let's say we just want to select all of the full size and the micros as well, and we'll add them to the group here. One thing that I would suggest is that as you're going through, you want to sort by name. First of all, it's going to make it a lot easier to find. Second of all, when I click favorite here, if you have this set to favorite, what's going to happen is these are going to bounce to the top, and it's going to kind of mess you up as you go. So just a pro tip, if you will, sort it by name, and we're going to go in and select our instruments that we want to trade. Let's say M2K, we'll go MCL, MES, MGC, MNQ. If you trade the YM, you can add that in there. We'll go ahead and keep going. We've got RTY, YM, and that should be about it, right? So now what we can do is as we go back up, I'm going to go ahead and select these as my favorites as well, and that'll make it easier for me to find these in the future. So we'll go ahead and create a favorites as well on these. I think we got all of them here. Now I can sort by favorite, and those will all pop up to the top. So we've got ES, MES. We've got MNQ. I didn't add the NQ because, frankly, I don't trade it, but you could certainly add that. We've got the YM and the MYM. We've got RTY and M2K. We've got MCL. I am missing CL, so we'll add that. And then we've got GC and MGC. So I need to go in and find CL because that one did not pop up for us. There it is. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add that to our favorite list. So now we've got our accounts. As you select these accounts, let's say if they weren't selected, then it would look like this. You just go through and select your favorites. And if you want to filter by favorites, you can also do that as well, to where you only see all of the favorites. Now I can just click this to select all. We'll move them over. Okay. So this is my instrument group, which I've just called futures group with futures instruments. And this is all set up with my instruments that I want to copy as I go. These are the instruments I trade, so of course I add those in. Now the beauty of this is anytime you're trading, regardless of contract, let's say you're trading on the March contract on the equities and you switch to the June contract, notice that you don't have to change anything here, which is really great. Okay, now that we have our instruments selected, you'll notice that there's a copy method here, and it's saying using instrument copy template. Then the instrument copy template is actually this right here, and it just says using global copy template. So what does that actually mean? If we go over here to settings, we can see there are global templates. Instrument template is using global copy method, and the copy method default is set to default. So that means that the global method is used, and if we go back to our templates, using instrument copy template, these are using the global copy template, and the global copy template is also set as our standard, as our default. So what does that actually mean? So we're going to go over to the default copy method and take a look. Default is set to exact quantity, 1-to-1. You take a trade on the ES, it's going to take the same exact trade on the ES on your other accounts. If you're trading on the MES, it will copy the MES and so on. Now there are some more advanced features, things like mapping to inverse instrument. You can trade the ES to the MES and vice versa. You can also convert fills to, from orders to actual fills in market orders, and that's more advanced, and we're not going to really get into that in these videos because the whole point of this is to help you get up and running quickly. But just understand that there are some more advanced features that you can use, and those will be available through ETP to gain some additional insight as to how to do that. For the sake of this demonstration, we're just going to go ahead and create another copy method just to show how it's done, but we're really going to just keep it pretty vanilla. We're not going to really do too much to update it. We'll just call this futures copy, whatever you want to call it. Or we could call it exact quantity is probably a better name to use. Let's use exact quantity. And if you have multiple groups, obviously you want to name them accordingly so you can find out which one you're using. So exact quantity means exactly that. We're just going to copy 1-to-1, no thrills, nothing too crazy, and we'll go ahead and use that. So now, if I go to settings, I can select that as my default. So now my instrument template is futures group. My copy template is exact quantity. So these will be my defaults. So I'll go ahead and save those. Now, if I go back to the account groups, I'm using global template for instruments. My instruments template is the futures group. That's my default. And then for the templates, if I go to my instrument group, then we can see that it's using the global copy template, which again is the exact quantity because we made that our default. Now let's say all of these are using a global copy template, but for some reason you want to trade something different on MNQ, right? In this case, you could select something different, and what it's going to do is that all of these instruments will use this version, whatever's selected, and then this will be the only one that's different using a different method. Additionally, you can just hit the X and that goes back to normal, and we can save that. So that is a basic idea on how to get ETP up and running and set up and ready to trade. The next thing we will do is we will simply enable copy trades, and we'll be ready to go, and we'll save it again, and we'll move this back out of the way, and then we're going to take a look at how to actually trade with it and how it works. So stay tuned for the next video, and we'll see you there.